This is the She Dares to Travel podcast, and I'm your host, Raquella Pollock. After spending a decade managing the #1 travel agency in Canada and now working with tourism businesses in risk management, I am here to connect you with women who are taking the travel industry by storm, as well as business professionals with a passion for travel, just like me. We are here to inspire, motivate, and uplift you to not only follow, but plan out your dreams, no matter where in the world they may be. Be sure to leave a review, subscribe, and follow along. Hello, Daredevils. Again, we are back. Thank you for being here. It is another Monday when you are listening to this, and I am just excited to dive into all things travel. I have a travel agent that is here with us today. She's not just a travel agent, though. She is a luxury travel advisor. She's a Virtuoso member, and she focuses on bespoke experiential travel and cruises. So very, very unique and bespoke. I absolutely love that word when talking about travel because it really makes it something special to you and something a little bit more luxurious as well. Ariane Henry is here with us today, and she has been named as one of Condé Nast's Travelers' Top Travel Specialists for 2021, 2022, and 2023. And I'm going to probably foreshadow 2024 is on the market for her too. She has been featured in Lonely Planet magazines and the Condé Nast Traveler magazine. And she's also launched a successful YouTube channel in 2021, which also attracts new and qualified clients to her growing business. Ariane, I am so excited to chat all things travel with you today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Richella. I'm so excited to be here.
So fun. And I mean, when I can talk to anybody, first of all, about travel, but secondly, about someone that's in the industry that has booked travel for people and luxury travel, I get very excited. So I do want to ask, where are you chatting with us from today?
I am chatting to you from beautiful Bali, Indonesia.
So nice. How long
And
are you in
actually,
Bali
Ubud.
for?
I'll say, actually, I am in Ubud. I absolutely love it here. It is, I was back here in 2015, had my Eat, Pray, Love moment, and fell in love with Bali. And actually, I've already planned to come back next year, so 2025, for 2 months, because it's one of my favorite destinations.
Incredible. I am in a kindred spirit with you in moment. I love Ubud. I got married there, and you were there 2015. You said Eat, Pray, Love. I went with my boyfriend, now husband, in 2016, and we went for
Oh, that's
3 weeks,
awesome.
fell in love, and I made a joke. Wouldn't it be fun if we got married here in Ubud? I think it would be great. And a couple years later, we ended up doing it. So, wow. My heart is just with you right now where you are, and I want to dive into all the fun things to do there. But before we get into it, tell us a bit more about yourself. Where did you grow up? What about you?
Yeah, so I grew up actually in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, Western Canada, and kind of also moved into the Kootenays for a few years. And then basically kind of got married, got divorced, and then
Life.
moved to White Rock, which is in the Vancouver, the Lower Mainland. And that is technically where I call home, but I've actually been traveling for the last 3 months full time. So kind of playing with the digital nomad lifestyle. And yeah, I basically how I got into hospitality and tourism is right after high school, I went right into event management. Did an event management course, became a event planner, wedding planner, started working with a lot of hotels, then started working as a sales manager for some hotels, and then basically got divorced. One of my friends was like, you need to become a travel advisor. I was the one hosting all the fams and all, and not we were able to do like hotel swaps and that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
wasn't the same thing. So I had a friend that was like, you need to like get into being a travel agent.
Were
um,
they a travel agent to recommend
yes,
it?
yeah, and funny
Okay.
enough, she actually worked for Flight Center Australia.
Nice.
Um, So she kind of poked me and was like, it's a great way for you to get the training. I mean, you already have the hospitality and travel training, but it would be really good for you to kind of get your foot in the door, learn Sabre, learn all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so 2016, I joined Flight Center in White Rock,
Mm-hmm.
and then became kind of worked my way up, became a TL of a store, and
Yeah.
then joined their luxury division because White Rock is a very luxury focused community, I guess you could say. We've got a lot of affluent people that live there. So, right off the bat, I was pretty well introduced to luxury travel. And yeah, so then I joined the Laurier du Vallon, is what they were called. And yeah, unfortunately, with obviously the pandemic, um, although what I will say is that everything was falling apart, but for me, everything fell into place. I
Mm.
always wanted to start my own business. I knew the potential. So I then, when I was furloughed, laid off, I then wanted to keep, because Laurier du Vallon was a Virtuoso member, I wanted to keep that. So I really did a lot of research into a few different host agencies that were Virtuoso. And I did join Direct Travel and at the very end of 2020. And then basically kind of started my own business. And yeah, the rest is history, and I haven't looked back.
Rest is history. Good for you. And it's something that we are kindred spirits in the fact that we both worked for Flight Center. I love that our
Yeah.
paths have crossed previously in the past life, I like to call it. But I do, and I know you can agree with me that working there truly was an incredible experience. It was the work
Yeah.
hard, play hard mentality. You got rewarded for, great work that you put in. And then of course 2020 hit and we were all flailing. We were
Yeah.
flailing for a while. So very incredible though that that's where you wound up. And now you're able to do your own business. So with the tools that you have from the schooling you did in hospitality and event management, how did that cross over into being a travel agent? How was that transition?
I think for me, it's the planning aspect, like the organizational aspect, especially when you are doing very detailed oriented itineraries for clients, because it wasn't just, oh, here's, your, sorry, I'm going to say it, the fly and flop vacation,
Mhm.
the all
Mhm.
inclusive, and here you go. It was literally, okay, so this is the transfer company that's going to pick you up from the airport. Did you want VIP service to take you through the airport, through the fast track? So you're not just dealing with a family going to Mexico on a vacation, you're dealing with
Yeah.
someone who is booking business class tickets. They then want to be led through the airport when they arrive, get into that private transfer to the hotel, all the activities, dining reservations. You are basically a concierge when it comes to the complete package for your clients.
Yeah.
So having the event management side of things really kind of boded well for me because it was just, you're so detailed, and the itineraries, all my clients were like, wow, this is just,
Mhm.
perfect.
And over and above too, right? It's going that extra mile for your clients. So that does relate really well. How did you find, because I know my personal experience, I started in 2010. How did you find the systems training back then? Because I've heard from not just with, the travel agency we worked with, but many travel agents across the board, that in itself can be a big learning curve.
Oh yeah, I mean, learning Sabre, it's a foreign language essentially that you're basically being taught in the course of. I mean, my training was 3 weeks. I
Hmm.
know some people then start to kind of shift. Some people had longer before me. Some people had shorter after. Um, but yeah, you're essentially learning, like a programming, because that's what Sabre Apollo all is. And it's a learning curve. um, but thankfully we didn't have to ticket our own tickets. because I
Mm.
know that whole process is also something else. But yeah, it's the training I felt was very good compared to what other agencies were kind of offering. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is the one thing I will say was
Yeah.
a definite plus to joining Flight Center was,
Mm-hmm.
the training was very in depth, and you felt
Yeah.
like when you actually started in the office, you had like a really good toolkit to kind of hit the ground running.
Start plugging. Exactly. I remember,
Yeah.
I don't know for you, but I remember just trying to book the domestic flights. So, quick flights, Kelowna to Calgary, Kelowna to Toronto. And that in itself, you actually just log into an agent version of the WestJet website, Air Canada website. But even that was so stressful when really you're just doing something you would do for yourself. So it's true. Once you learn these other systems, when you're actually linking in to the airplane seat map, you're grabbing the seats. There's so being a travel advisor is so multifaceted. And it's always that tip of the iceberg thing where people walk in and are like, oh, you don't look busy. And you're like, yeah, right. Yeah. So it's very true that there's a lot to learn. Were you able
Yes.
to pull from a lot of previous travels of your own in the past? Did you travel a lot before you became a travel agent?
So yes and no. I traveled a lot. So my mother was actually scared to fly.
Oh,
So
wow.
they owned a business, and unfortunately, instead of flying across the country, we were driving across the country. So I've actually driven across Canada 33 times.
Wow. 33
Um,
times. That's
yeah, and then the
unreal.
States a few times.
Yeah.
And I've been to most states by driving. Um, that being said, that actually kind of helps because you know what to do in basically every single province, most of the states. I've lucky enough to visited most of the national parks in the US and Canada. So yeah, it's actually, it did, my travels was mostly kind of domestic and some international,
Yeah.
like the UK to basically France at that point when I joined Flight Center, and then also to some of Asia.
Hmm.
Um, but really, that was the
Wow.
beauty of becoming a travel advisor, was really kind of taking advantage of FAMs and other opportunities to
Hmm.
really travel the world. So
It's so true. And those FAMs, for those listening, are familiarization trips. So
yeah.
they send you basically for a really great rate or practically free for you to experience a place so you can then go back and sell it. And that actually is really incredible because I feel out of our whole team working at the travel agency, a lot of the time we would struggle with things to do within our own country. Sending people outside of Canada was so much easier. So at least for you to have that knowledge, that's huge. 33 times across Canada. Is that from point to point and kind of just moving all in between or
Yeah, so basically we kind of start obviously in BC, and we would literally
yeah.
drive. Usually we kind of, obviously you have to make kind of some pit stops along the way, but
Hmm.
usually it was either to Toronto, Montreal, or even completely to the East Coast, like all the way to Halifax, Prince Edward Island.
Wow.
Yeah, so I
Beautiful.
got to see a
Okay.
lot of Canada.
What would you say for those? Because there are quite a few listeners from Australia and other parts of the world. What would you say is one of the best luxury trips or places you can do experiences, maybe is a better word, in Canada that you would recommend?
So I've done it twice, the Rocky Mountaineer.
Oh,
It is
yes.
incredible. People forget that we have some absolutely amazing trips here in Canada. Basically, the Rocky Mountaineer is a true gem for us. And then even the Via train, the Canadian, you can actually do that in premier class. I've had clients that have done that, where basically they take the Via train across Canada instead of flying. That they actually flew one way because they didn't want to do both ways. But taking it right into Toronto and then did the extension to Quebec City, so through Montreal to Quebec City. Quebec City is another gem of Canada. it has its own, Quebec actually has its own beautiful wine region. And then even, I will even kind of plug like, you know, our Eastern Canada, so PEI, Halifax, and even down into New England, especially in the
Mm.
fall. Those places are absolutely incredible.
Great advice. Definitely great advice. I need to get out to Eastern Canada more often, that's for sure. What other types of travels have you done? Are you typically, being that you specialize in more luxury travel, is that typically your style of travel, or have you had different experiences leading up in your career?
Um, I will say that because I got married very young, so I basically was married by 19 years old.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I really didn't have a backpacker stage. I basically, being married for 10 years, it I already kind of liked my creature comforts and also working in hotels and whatnot. It was kind of like I actually have never stayed in a hostel. I know that's really bad to admit.
No, that's
Um,
okay. I don't think that's bad at
it
all.
I finally actually stayed in my very first co-working space or co-living space. But again, we'll get into that. It's a little bit different. You
Mhm.
actually still have like your own studio, almost like little apart hotel. And then you have co-working spaces where you can really meet other digital nomads. So I did that in Europe. That was actually kind of fun. But yeah, I always kind of did luxury. And I was also introduced to cruising at 19. Actually, that's what I did on my honeymoon was I did a cruise to Alaska. So
Beautiful.
I personally really enjoy cruising, especially for solo travelers and people who haven't really been to certain destinations or they're unsure of destinations that they feel are unsafe.
Hmm.
They kind of have that safety net, so to speak, because it basically a cruise ship is like a floating hotel. Um, you can easily go out, unpack once, you wake up in a new destination every day, and you can kind of go out, see if you like the destination. And then I find a lot of my clients who have cruised are like, you know what? We really liked Palma. We really want to go and spend like a week on Mallorca.
Mm.
So cruising is actually a great way to kind of do like a tester. A lot of people do the Greek islands. They come back, they realize Mykonos is a little busy.
Hmm.
Same with Santorini. It was a little bit, it was great to see it, but probably spend time on a different Greek island. Um, so yeah, cruising was definitely another is a passion of mine. I really enjoy cruising. And yeah, I've actually went back myself to destinations and stayed longer to experience them.
You're bang on, definitely, with it being almost like a little taste
Yes.
of everywhere to go, a sampler, if you will, a sample platter. It's a great way to travel. Where would you say? Because how many you know roughly how many places you've traveled to, countries or?
So I'm up to 42 countries.
Ooh, that's a lot of
Yes,
countries.
42.
I love it. Beautiful. Do you
43
have a
next week.
what do you have a favorite?
That is a very hard question
I know. I know. I,
because
I almost hate
um,
asking it.
I know everywhere I travel, what I will say about this travel has really opened my heart, my mind to experience. And I've realized that things really, especially after the pandemic, things really don't matter. It's really the experiences, the connections, and really kind of taking in the cultures. Um, I mean, top five for me would have to be Bali, so Indonesia, um, Hungary, Italy,
Mhm.
Slovenia, and oh gosh, France.
Beautiful. With all those places being uniquely very different, How is it? Because you mentioned culture and being more immersed in the culture, and obviously you are a fan of staying in a place much longer than a couple days. What is
Mhm.
something you do, collectively in all these places that really gets you experiencing the culture?
For me, it's going beyond the typical day trips. So that's the beauty of really kind of like luxury travel, is that a lot of the experiences that I set up for my clients are just, they're a lot more in depth than your typical what you can purchase off Viator or Klook or something like that, where you're actually immersed with a quality local guide who's going to actually take the time, because usually it's just you, your family, or your small group, um, to really kind of immerse you within the culture. So they'll explain before you get to a temple, okay, so you need to be wearing a sarong, you need to be, and they'll even give you like the day before, hey, this is what you should be wearing so that we can all enter the temples appropriately, so we're not holding back the group. So again, it's a lot of different, what I would say, there's different quality of tours, and I've been really grateful that I've been able to experience higher quality of tours, and that's personally what I do for myself nowadays, just because I've felt like I've gotten so much more out of it,
Mm.
especially when it comes to small group. Um, I really feel like instead of waiting for stragglers to get on a bus, because it's either just you, your traveling party, or a very small group, you get so much more out of it, and it's a lot less stressful as well. It makes the day just kind of flow that much more better. So you can actually see a lot more too, because
Yeah.
usually the tour operators that you use, you can just walk right in, you're not waiting in lines. So again, it's a much different experience. And for me, I love to do cooking classes. I actually made, on this trip, I actually did a silver making class, and I actually
Oh,
made my own ring here, which I'll
wow.
always get to now take with me and wear it. And I
Yeah.
know I actually made it myself here in Ubud. So,
Hmm.
very unique things you can do and see instead of, um, you know, the bigger touristy
The
things, I guess.
bigger. It is very true, and it's one of those things, as you said, it's a lot about the experiences too. And now it's looking at what can we take with us. And there's a lot of women I've spoken to on the podcast where they're saying, how do we arrive at a place and leave it better than when we found it? So making
Yeah.
sure, like you're saying, that we're working, and even if it's on a more luxury scale, we're spending our dollars to and have it directly impact the economy that we're in, no matter where in the world it is. And I think that's a really beautiful way that we can travel, and something we can all practice doing wherever we are. And someone even because you do some Airbnbs as well as hotels when you travel, or is it more hotels or a mix?
It is mostly it's hotels.
Okay.
I have done some Airbnbs, but
Yeah.
basically it's more the VRBO route.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, I mostly it's like apart hotels,
Hmm. Yeah.
or
Explain a bit more about the apart hotels. How do those work?
yeah. So essentially, they are individual apartments. So they're 1, 2, 3 bedroom studios. But you still have, and for me, because I travel solo, Airbnbs, I've had bad experiences. So I don't really use them anymore. I prefer to use apart hotels, or I stay in co living spaces now. So what that means is you have a 24/7 reception. So usually you still get a breakfast included. Even if you don't get a breakfast included, you have your own kitchen to cook. So you don't necessarily need to worry about that. But for me, it's also now looking for the co-living aspect, which means I still get my private studio apartment,
Hmm.
but I also have the option to join a community downstairs, which is like a co working space. So it's really neat to meet others who are kind of doing the same thing. They're in the tech industry, or they're in coaching or wellness or fitness. And it's been a really interesting community to start to be a part of, because we're all in the same mindset. We're all travelers at heart, and we're all entrepreneurs. So it's a very interesting dynamic. I guess somebody was like, "Oh, that's for hostels for like grown-up people." And I was like,
Yeah,
"Okay,
that's
if that's what it is."
I like that. It's a very adult hostel. Perfect.
Yeah, and then certain people kind of, "Oh, I'm planning on, kind of doing this tomorrow," and we'll all kind of get together and do stuff.
And
It's,
meet.
yeah, community dinners. It's actually kind of fun.
How do you find the apart hotels? Is this a category when searching online?
You can actually find them through, so Citadines is a big one. Actually, in Europe, it's part of a core. So
Hmm.
like the Fairmont Group, they actually have their own. I
Oh,
think
wow.
they actually call them apart hotels. That's the actual brand. They're all over Europe, and then they're expanding into Asia as well. Here in Bali, there's Outpost. That's actually co-working, co-living. They also have destinations in Portugal, because that's a huge digital nomad hub at the moment. Some places in like Tulum, Mexico. Selena is another one that is very kind of co-working forward. I personally haven't stayed there, but I've actually sent clients there who are digital nomads now, because that's the one thing that I think is great out of the pandemic. The technology
Yeah.
that we have has come so much further to lend to remote work, that a lot of my clients are like, "Hey, want to go to Thailand for 2 months? Let's book me into some higher end hotels for some wellness, and then
Hmm.
I want to stay in some co-working spots." So
It
yeah.
is very true. I do give 2020, as stressful as it was for many industries, especially in travel, I do give it that it really has opened up everyone's mind that we don't need to be as sedentary. We can move and we can work in other places. It's very doable for a lot of
Yeah.
industries if you can make it work. So let's talk a little bit too. You're in Indonesia right now for approximately 3 months. You're traveling alone. You're working.
So
It is
so
currently, yes.
yeah. So actually, so my travel plans here is Indonesia for a month, so Bali for a month,
Okay.
and then I'm moving to Malaysia for about a week. Then I'm doing Singapore for about a week, and then I'm kind of ending off in Japan for 3 weeks.
The dream right there. That is the dream. So how do you incorporate? Because right now I know it's I don't know, 5:30 right now here in Canada. What time is it over? It's tomorrow already. Tomorrow is a
So
great day. I assure
yeah,
I
so
assume.
it's the following day, and it's about 9:40. Yeah, 9:39 in the morning.
Being that you're on the other side of the world, walk us through how it works with balancing between working and having fun. Work can be
Yeah,
fun, but you
for
know what I
sure.
mean.
Yeah, and I actually get that question all the time. They're like, "How do you actually get work done?" um, the beautiful thing about it is, and the key to it is routine. So for me, you have to have a routine. So for me here in Asia, because I've traveled and worked before from Thailand, Australia, lots of different places. Essentially from Asia, my routine would be, I wake up in the morning, I do my meditation, I do my yoga, and then I will do my journaling, and then I will start to kind of go into what my day looks like, what tasks I need to complete. And I do wake up quite early here, so that um, I start my day kind of 5, like I'll actually start my work day at about
Mm,
5:30, 6 a.m. So that basically Pacific time, that's about 2:30 in the afternoon.
okay.
So when I kind of send clients updates, if I need to contact them, call them for final approvals, I still have time to do that before the workday ends. And then I actually kind of continue working for a little bit of time. Usually I'll kind of shut things off by about 6 p.m. your guys' time.
Mhm.
So that's about 10 a.m. my time. And then I have the whole day to go out, explore, do my own kind of either go to a afternoon yoga class, a sound bath, whatever I decide to do here. Check into a different hotel because I've been doing a lot of hotel experiences while I've been here. And then kind of check in on my emails again, kind of around the right before I kind of go to bed, just because some suppliers I actually work with are also based in Europe. So because I do book a lot of Europe, it just kind of,
Mhm.
you know, so I do about half hour to an hour of work in the evening, usually after dinner, and then shut it down, do an evening meditation, and call it a night. And then in Europe, it's a little bit different. So when I work from Europe, I actually wake up early in the morning. I do, again, my meditation, whatnot.
Mhm.
And then I'll go out and explore. And then I'll be back to my accommodation by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's when kind of New York is starting, New York, Toronto are kind of starting to wake up. And then I'll do a good few hours of focused
Mm.
work, um, and then start my day all over again.
There is something to say about consistency. That's very, very true. And to have that schedule. And I always do say, and it is very inspiring because I always say that we need to figure out that routine here at home. And really, no matter wherever we are working, and the fact that you can bring it where you go for 3 months at a time, 4 months at a time, it is really inspiring. And it does remind us that it's very possible to do. And it doesn't have to be a burden. It can be something that's beautiful and you make it work and align with your day in order to also keep clients that you have happy if you're an entrepreneur or anything of that aspect too. So it's very encouraging and it's such a good reminder. And that's my goal in the future. So I love hearing all the advice I can get. I do. Now with the travels that you do and then also the experiences you have, what would you say is a trip or the type of trips that you book your clients on? Talk us through what luxury travel means to you or to them, or why someone would reach out to you for a trip.
Yeah, essentially it's um, most of my clients are they're very busy themselves. Either they're doctors, lawyers, um, tech entrepreneurs. So they really don't necessarily, they're way too busy running their own businesses that they understand the value of passing the stuff along to a professional,
Mhm.
which I appreciate because there was a period where with especially with Flight Center, again, I'm very grateful for Flight Center, but it did teach me that there are some clients out there who really don't respect time. And um, when it comes to running your own business, it was really refreshing to be able to pick and choose the clients who did respect my time and
Mm.
respected my value as a travel advisor. And I think that was really kind of the tipping point for me. So my clients are charged travel professional fees.
Mhm.
That's something that's an upfront fee, even before I give them a quote. If they want me to look into a trip for them, there is an upfront fee. That's something I feel that's really important. And uh, basically, we go through a travel discovery call. That's just initially before basically I even take on somebody as a client. They actually fill out a pretty detailed form on my website, kind of talking about their future travels, kind of how they like to travel, if there's any special occasions, dietary restrictions, mobile limitations. A lot of that stuff's really important, especially when, say, you're dealing with the river cruise. If someone's in a wheelchair, they're really not going to get the most out of a river cruise, especially because ships dock, ship. And then usually you have to walk up and over. and it's not really good for anybody who's actually physically in a wheelchair and can't
Mm.
walk a few steps on their own. So it's really having initial conversations and to what kind of travel that people are looking at doing or my clients are looking at doing, and how I can also make it special for them. If someone's really kind of looking at, you know, because I also believe in very much like uh, animal sustainability. Here on Bali, for instance, there are some elephant sanctuaries,
Mm.
and people really popularly go and swim with the dolphins. Unfortunately, I don't book those trips because to me, those are not sustainable. So again, it's having conversations with people being like, okay, so what are you looking at actually doing? And again, how are you wanting to travel?
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe in making sure that people are giving back when they actually do travel.
It's
um,
true. That's very important. Good for you. And it's
yeah,
amazing that you're able to align your values with your business and take on the clients. And I really, really agree with you when it comes to a travel agent. And I think this has changed from a lot of the agents I still talk to that I know since 2020. There has been a shift in mentality where why would you book with a travel agent? And before it was to get the best deal. Now it's to get the best service. Now you want to pay that advisor fee because if you don't, you may not be able to go into a country because you missed that you need to have a certain visa. So it's having that expertise. And I think that that's really important for all travel agencies out there and all advisors for people to remember that. Like you're paying for a service and this knowledge because do you want to do it? You're working your job, you're busy, like you don't want to have to deal with this stuff and research. And if you're not a researcher, all the more reason to pay the fee. And it's true. So that is incredible that you can also align it with who you are as a person because I agree with you. There's some really not that great animal type of places that you want to do and experience, but there's right ways to do it.
exactly. And I think we've got Instagram and social media to kind of blame for that a little bit because people are like, oh, I want the picture doing this and I want to do that. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but that is actually so, for instance, here in Bali,
Hmm.
there was a couple that were deported recently because they went into a temple, stripped, completely nude, and
Oh
did
no.
a Adam and Eve photo shoot in a temple.
Oh no.
So they were obviously deported.
Yeah, that's
So
That's very
again,
serious. Yeah, very,
but again,
because
people are
it's
kind
very
of sometimes
discriminating.
chasing
Oh,
the gram.
wow.
Yeah. So
I hear you on that. That's a very hard one. And a
yeah.
reminder. It's a good reminder for a lot of people out there. Like that's not, oh, respect. Travel with respect. It's so
Yep.
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
very important. What do
Yeah.
you think out of all the places you've been, either you've been or where you've sent a client, what's one of the most interesting places or maybe most sustainable or unique or somewhere you think people should go?
Okay, so there's a few different, okay, first one I'll mention is I actually just had
Mention
a
a
client
few.
that checked out a couple weeks ago. They stayed there for actually New Year's. Was not many people realize that the Palace of Versailles has a hotel inside.
What? Hold on. Let me lean back and be more expressive. What? I had no idea.
Yeah, so
Tell
the
me
Palace
more.
of Versailles, it's the Arles Hotel. It's the Chateau de Versailles. It is a very boutique, exclusive hotel that is part of the Palace of Versailles. So when you check in, um, your suite is literally named after one of either the guests or someone that has lived in the Palace of Versailles. So they do have like the Marie Antoinette suite. And essentially, you have after hours access. So every day, you have a butler that is assigned to you even before your guests check in. So I can give the butler who will be assisting them on their day of their stay. All my clients' preferences, allergies, dietary restrictions, um, what temperature they want the room set to when they arrive. Um,
This is the
believe me,
dream right
people
here.
do kind of give me
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah. I believe it.
This is kind of the when you get to a
Unreal.
certain, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
But then they also book them into the afternoon tea. They will book them if they want the golf. They actually have access to golf buggies to go around the gardens in the Palace of Versailles. You can actually book additional charge. You can do horseback riding in the gardens. There's lots of different activities, but every day after the palace closes to the public, the guests are actually given tours of the palace after hours. And then in the morning, also before the palace also opens to the public, there is a different tour that is given as well. So it's
This
very
feels to
special.
me, this feels like how if you stay at a Disneyland Resort hotel, you get early access to the park,
Yeah,
but the Palace of Versailles style. That is
exactly.
an unreal experience and very, very unique. And obviously your clients loved it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they were just they really enjoyed it. And also it's an Alain Ducasse restaurant that is located there. So obviously multiple Michelin stars. So yeah.
Wow. Oh, and it's
Yeah.
true. It's those experiences. And I think it's really important to know your style of travel. And I do know for myself, I've said it before, I love to have a view because my husband likes to have naps, which I appreciate. And then I love to be able to sit on a balcony or look out and enjoy a view. So it's learning what your travel style is. And if you are wanting that luxury experience, there are some situations like that I've never heard of that you can have these wow moments or experiences that will carry you through life because in the end what can we take with us besides hopefully our memories. So
Yep.
beautiful. Wow. And how about for yourself, what's a unreal experience that you highly recommend for someone to do across the
Uh,
globe?
so again, it's kind of hard to narrow down just one
I
experience.
know.
Like I even was like, I was sitting in, so I've actually been here. I was able to stay at the Four Seasons resort here in Bali, the at Sian, which is here at Ubud, which was rated the #1 hotel in the world in 2018. And then I actually just last night I checked out, unfortunately, from Mandapa, which is a Ritz-Carlton Reserve. And what was interesting is I was sitting in my pool at the Four Seasons, and I'm like, people ask me all the time, and it's such a hard question. What is the favorite hotel that you've ever stayed in? And it's always so difficult to kind of differentiate. And I'm like, how do they even say that this is the #1 hotel in the world? Because there's so many that are so wonderful, but they're all so unique as well. The thing about a lot of these properties is that it's also the people. So, for instance, in at Mandapa, just even yesterday, I had such an incredible conversation with the practitioner who actually did my massage. She had been part of the opening team at Mandapa back in 2016, and she's just like, it's really the people who make it and the practitioners. Um, and even like both the Four Seasons, I'm actually checking into the Capella tonight. So I find that a lot of these hotels here are very wellness focused, which to me that speaks currently to what I'm really kind of looking for and what a lot of my clients are looking for, especially after the pandemic. Burnout is a thing. I
Yeah.
burnt out last summer. I will not be ashamed to say that because when you are one person running everything, sometimes that can take a toll. I'm sure even you kind of understand running a podcast, your own career,
Mm-hmm.
everything at home,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it can add up.
Yeah.
And I can't choose a favorite hotel. Like I've stayed at some absolutely amazing hotels around the world. each one is so unique. But what I really find is really interesting is they're all looking to give back in some way or another. For instance, Mandapa is encouraging guests. They're already donating for every guest, but they're encouraging guests to donate just 150,000 rupiah, which to us in Canadian dollars, that's about $14 Canadian. And they're working with programs similar to like Four Ocean to create plastic recovery systems in rivers and in the waterways here in Bali, because it's a very serious problem. Is tourism brings not
Mm-hmm.
just landfill waste, but it also brings human waste. It
Mm-hmm.
brings so much more than just, us coming to an island and supporting the locals with dollars. There's also a dark side to it. So a lot of these hotels have kind of realized, like even the Andaz Bali, they actually have a robot called Beatbot that cleans the beach every day. And you can actually see it going up and down the beach. But it actually picks up plastics, rope, everything off the beach. And then they actually create, I'm actually not wearing it, but bracelets and other things that
Mm.
products that they can actually reuse the plastics.
That is a very important topic, very important. And I do love to hear that a lot of the luxury branded hotels are looking to give back, because I've heard that across Bali or when you're traveling anywhere or from local organizations, but it's nice to hear, it's especially nice to hear from the luxury brands that they're doing the same thing too, because I agree with you. Traveling in Indonesia, we've seen we were going to the Gili Islands and we saw a big landfill and it was just plastic bottles everywhere. And it hurts your heart to see it. And you
Yeah.
know that you're contributing because it's so hot and you need your water, but the only way to buy it is in your plastic bottles. So it's really nice to hear. And that is an important reminder for when we are traveling to see where your dollars are being spent. Or if you're spending more and you're splurging on a really beautiful accommodation, what are they doing with the dollars? How's it getting put back? I love that idea.
Yeah, and I think too, again, it's who they actually hire and the
Mhm.
quality of the people that they're hiring. For instance, both at the Four Seasons and at Mandapa, I had amazing wellness treatments. And the practitioners that they use are actual Balinese healers, the traditional healers.
Mm. Oh, wow.
Um, Even having that as an included amenity is something that's really special. There was a chakra healing ceremony at Mandapa that I did, and she's Balinese, and it's something that she had the gift. It was passed down from her family because they had the gift, and it's actually a beautiful part of the culture. They will actually Most of the hotels have a temple on the grounds, and they do their own ceremonies. And even in the rooms, they have the sashes and sarongs so that you can actually take part in ceremonies. It's a really you yes, I do think that the luxury market, people are like, oh, is it actually worth spending the extra money? 100% it is.
Mm.
Because I think that the responsibility does fall on them to be more sustainable and to really kind of show people that this is what we're doing to kind of help the situation here.
Very well said. And such a great reminder. And that's something I'm going to look forward to when traveling as well, because I love a nice hotel. I really do. But how much more special is it knowing where your dollar is going? So thank you for that. I think that's a great advice for anybody that's looking to splurge or travel or go somewhere unique and do something different.
Yeah.
With the travels, with you owning your own company, what type of advice do you have for somebody that's looking to start their own travel company or agency, and what would you just say to them?
I would say to really kind of look at what you enjoy. Because the one thing that I would say that has really helped my business is actually traveling. So by showing my clients how they can travel well, um, that's kind of obviously niche down, and it's also brought me new clients who are looking for those experiences. So whatever you show, you're going to sell. I have a lot of people that ask me this. They're like, oh, I'm posting these deals to Mexico and I really want to like book the Four Seasons. And I'm like, do you show that you stayed at a Four Seasons? Are
Important.
you showing the experience and the value of staying at a certain hotel or experience? Because that's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I'm traveling like this, I'm actually selling these destinations because people are realizing, oh, you've been there. You're not just an agent sitting at a desk in an office. You're actually experiencing it for yourself and you can sell it from firsthand knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I've basically tried, I've been here in Ubud for 3 weeks. I've tried a lot of restaurants here. I know which ones are pretty good and which ones are.
I've seen your stories. I've been following your stories. Yes.
There are some I don't post. um, but but it's the truth, right? So, and I actually create like little Google Maps that I send to my clients, like when they book with me. It's not that, okay, well, here's your trip to Bali, here's your hotel, here's your transfers, have fun. It's actually, okay, so here's like a travel guide of these kind of places that you need to go. Like, this is where you can eat. This is where sustainable shopping. As much as I love the Ubud art market, it breaks my heart to see that most of that stuff does not come from Indonesia. um, Again, that's another kind of whole sustainable chat. But that's the thing, like there are a lot of actual local shops and boutiques here that actually are from the local artisans. So it's just kind of making sure that your clients are, equipped to kind
Mm-hmm.
of really enjoy the
Where?
destination that they're traveling to.
So true. And being that you're there, you've experienced it. You're right. It's bang on to be able to share that knowledge. And that that I feel is the key when it comes to talking to anybody about anything. Really, it's those that have been there to understand it, which is really
Mhm.
beautiful and incredible. And I love hearing what you're doing. And I spoke to a woman, Julie Hunter, a few episodes ago, and she is co-founder of Ultimate Driving Experiences. And I really feel like you and her should connect because she helps run very luxury, unique, ultimate driving experiences all across the world, mainly in Europe, but it's in really high end luxury vehicles. And then they curate these experiences just like you do, where they're going to Michelin star hotels or staying in castles. You're going on a trip where everything is taken care of. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing for your clients. And I really feel there's something special about that because sometimes we make so many decisions in our life all day long. So if we don't have to think about something, especially when it comes to travel, it's a beautiful thing. So thank you for what you're doing. Absolutely love it. I do.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, when you've never been to a destination yourself, you're like, oh my goodness. Like, and I find that's like the biggest thing. It's yes, you've got the hotel figured out, you can search all that kind of stuff, but then it's like, okay, so where am I going to eat? Or, like, what should I do outside of, like if at
Hmm.
night I want to do something, like what is even open? Um,
Absolutely.
like for instance, I love my family's Hungarian. I'm actually working on getting my Hungarian citizenship right now so that I can actually live in the EU as well, so that I don't have the, again, not many people realize you can only stay 90 days out of
Hmm.
180. in the European Union or the Schengen area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like so many people don't realize that the baths in Budapest open up at like 6, 7 in the morning. They all think, oh, they all open at like 10. I'm like, no, go early. There's no tourists. It's locals. It's the best
Mm-hmm.
time to go. So yeah, even just little things like that, it
Mm-hmm.
can really kind of help your clients really experience something special.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. It's something to take home and walk away with that you're going to have for life. It is beautiful. It's amazing what you do. Mad respect always for the travel industry and travel agents for what they do and the knowledge that they're able to share. So thank you again for being here. Where can people find you?
So on Instagram, I am at wanderlustjourney.ca. YouTube, I'm just Wanderlust Journey. And primarily, those are the two that I'm really active on. It does auto post to Facebook. I'm at wanderlustjourney.ca there. But yeah, I'd love to connect. And my website is obviously www.wanderlustjourney.ca.
Perfect. Thank you again so much for being here, sharing your story, and just a lot of inspiration around travel. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you to Hotel Z Kelowna, Victoria, and Tofino for being our sponsor. You can also save 15% off your next getaway using the code DARES2, DARES 2, the number 2, at hotelz.com. These funky and unique hotels are in British Columbia, and they're going to have you not wanting to leave while you're on your next vacation. Enjoy! If you like this episode, please subscribe, download a few more, and leave a review. I really would love to hear from you, what you enjoyed and what your key takeaways were. And of course, please let me know if there's any aspect of the travel industry you want me to talk about next. You can also search for the hashtag #SheDaresToTravelPodcast on Instagram and comment on the episode's post with your questions. I'd love to answer them all for you guys. I hope you enjoy your day, stay so well, and until next time, fly straight.